Oh, Jisoo, the epitome of a double-life mastermind. Sitting in the teacher's office with Mr. Jo Jin-woo, he's portrayed as the classic overachiever, top grades, quiet demeanor, and a knack for avoiding the limelight. But here's the twist. Beneath this perfect facade lies a thriving underground business empire that would make even Tony Stark raise an eyebrow. Picture this: Clark Kent, if instead of saving the world, he managed a clandestine enterprise involving high school girls and a muscle for hire named Mr. Lee. Yep, Jisoo isn't just managing schoolwork, he's the brains behind an anonymous, app-driven network for extracurricular activities. It's a blend of textbooks and trouble that keeps him on his toes. Think CEO by day, secret agent by night. Jisoo's operation runs smoother than a well-oiled machine. He's got his gadgets, a special phone, a headset for covert communication, and an affinity for using subway lockers as clandestine drop-offs for payments. If multitasking were an Olympic sport, Jisoo would take gold. But as every entrepreneur knows, trouble lurks around the corner. One of Jisoo's girls, So Min-hee, finds herself in a tight spot with a less-than-savory client. Cue the panic button and Mr. Lee's timely intervention, turning what could have been a disaster into a profitable cleanup operation. It's customer service with a twist, and definitely not in the Yelp-approved category. Meanwhile, amidst his clandestine escapades, Jisoo nurses a secret crush on Bae Gyuri, the school's judo club star and all-around popular girl. Thanks to Mr. Jo's intervention, Jisoo lands a chance to get closer to Gyuri by joining a social club, conveniently with her as the sole other member. Smooth move, Mr. Jo, though maybe lacking in subtlety. Their cafe meetup, intended for club discussion, turns into a comedy of errors as Jisoo, typically composed in business matters, transforms into a bumbling mess in Gyuri's presence. Just as things seem to thaw between them, fate, or rather a frantic call about another crisis, pulls Jisoo away. It's a classic case of boy meets girl, interrupted by illegal dealings and capped off with a dash of heroism. Move over, rom-coms. Hero curricular might just be the next big thing. In a flurry of quick thinking and adrenaline, Jisoo rescues Min-hee from captivity, showcasing his strategic prowess and determination. But amidst the chaos, he manages to pull a classic blunder, leaving poor Gyuri hanging at the cafe, bag and hopes left in the hands of bewildered staff. Smooth move, Jisoo. Maybe next time a quick note or a superhero signal could save the day and the date. Gyuri may live in luxury but is drowning in the expectations of her helicopter parents. They're like personal trainers but for life, always pushing her to take over the family business. She dreams of slipping their grip, a classic case of parental over-involvement gone wrong. Her frustration leads her down a path of curiosity about Jisoo's mysterious world. She notices he's glued to his phone, sparking suspicions that he's hiding something big. Like any bored teenager with too much curiosity and a knack for mischief, she swipes his secret phone. With some crafty spy skills, she cracks the password and finds herself staring at Jisoo's underground pimping operation. Plot twist alert. Meanwhile, Jisoo's frantically searching everywhere for his missing phone, turning his life upside down. At a birthday bash for Min-hee's boyfriend, Jisoo crashes the party in his hysteric search, nearly getting into a brawl with the birthday boy himself. Just when things are about to get WWE in there, Jisoo's cash-hungry dad swoops in to break up the fight. Talk about perfect timing, especially when it involves asking for money. Classic dad move. Meanwhile, Min-hee's dealing with serious trauma from her past ordeal, seeing her creepy old client around every corner. She reaches out to Mr. Lee for support at a local eatery, unaware that Gyuri's playing detective nearby, trying to connect the dots in Jisoo's shady world. The next day, with Jisoo suspiciously absent from school, Gyuri takes matters into her own hands and heads straight to his place. She manages to lure Jisoo out by promising to return his phone at school, giving her free rein to snoop around his apartment. There, she stumbles upon a suitcase full of cash, temptation central for any rebellious teen. She briefly considers pocketing some dough before a pang of guilt sets in, prompting her to rethink and return the money. But before she can stop him, Jisoo's dad swoops in like a money-hungry hawk, snatching up the cash without a second thought for his son's hard work. Here's where things get chaotic. As Gyuri chases after Jisoo's dad to set things right, the stolen phone slips from her pocket, setting off a madcap chase involving an alert apartment guard. It's like a bizarre relay race, with everyone racing for their own reasons, culminating in a showdown between Jisoo and Gyuri. Caught red-handed with the pilfered phone, Gyuri's attempts to explain herself are cut short by Jisoo's visible fury, a revelation of his deeply guarded secrets. Faced with the fallout, Jisoo decides to hit pause on his shady business, marking a significant shift in his storyline. But Gyuri's not one to back down easily. She approaches Jisoo with a bold proposition: team up in his illicit ventures and expand into male prostitution from the judo club. She's got big plans and connections, but Jisoo's not sold. His business model prioritized protecting vulnerable girls, and the thought of involving the judo guys doesn't sit right with him. Gyuri, who's now as determined as ever to sweet-talk her way into Jisoo's shadowy business dealings. But Jisoo, with his cautious nature that could rival a paranoid squirrel's, shuts her down quicker than you can say crypto scam. Meanwhile, Jisoo finds himself on a mission straight out of a detective novel, tracking down his slippery father who's vanished into thin air with all his hard-earned cash. And of course, where there's drama, there's Gyuri, clinging to the adventure like a persistent sidekick in an action flick. Together, they burst into dear old dad's hideout, only to discover he's invested everything in a bogus crypto deal. Talk about a crypto catastrophe. Back in the real world, Gyuri, feeling guilty for dragging Jisoo into this mess, decides it's time to return his purloined phone. In a move that would make a magician proud, she slips his business phone back into his pocket while he's catching some much-needed Z's on the way home. Smooth operator Gyuri. Guess she's mastered the art of sleight of hand after all. But life isn't all sunshine and roses for Jisoo. Across town, we catch Minhee in a shady rendezvous with Mr. Lee, attempting to recruit him for a job and unwittingly calling Jisoo uncle, unaware of his undercover alias. Mr. Lee, however, isn't biting the bait and returns her cash, leaving her high and dry. Looks like he's got a strict no-hustle policy. Later on, Jisoo retrieves his phone and reconnects with Mr. Lee, strategizing to kickstart their business venture anew. Meanwhile, Officer Lee Hae-gyung spots Minhee loitering around sketchy hotels, setting off her internal suspicion radar as she recalls seeing her in similar places before. Seems like Minhee is a magnet for trouble. Call her the mystery magnet. Speaking of Minhee, she's facing her own set of challenges. She confronts her boyfriend, Kwak Ki-tae, about their relationship, but he deflects her serious talk with the finesse of a seasoned diplomat. Meanwhile, Mr. Lee nudges Jisoo to pony up his overdue salary before they can resume their hustle. Looks like Jisoo's about to learn the hard way that in their line of work, no pay means no play. Back at school, Minhee departs early, feeling under the weather, while Gyuri discreetly tips off the teacher about the principal summoning him. The two girls share a candid chat, with Gyuri cautioning Minhee about her boyfriend's entanglement with Jisoo's affairs. Curious about Minhee's job, Gyuri learns that she's on the brink of losing her waitressing gig due to unpaid bills. A predicament linked to Jisoo's tardy payments to Mr. Lee. Looks like Jisoo's got some serious business blues to sort out. With bills mounting like a game of financial Jenga, Jisoo hustles hard with part-time gigs, trying to keep his head above water. Just when he thinks he's gaining control, Gyuri swoops in again with her savings, hoping to buy her way into his plans. But Jisoo, ever the cautious strategist, isn't convinced. Her reckless streak is like a bull in a china shop meets a tornado. She's more cash splash than cash flow, and he knows it. As if Jisoo's plate wasn't already overflowing, his grades take a nosedive faster than a boulder in a pond. Enter Mr. Jo-jin Woo, the bearer of bad news and failing grades, threatening Jisoo's dreams of a scholarship. Talk about kicking a guy when he's down. Looks like Jisoo's dealing with a case of scholarship schmolarship. In a moment of sheer desperation, or perhaps a touch of insanity, Jisoo finally caves and accepts Gyuri's offer of financial aid and partnership. Can this unlikely duo turn their luck around, or are they headed for a spectacular crash landing? Buckle up, drama aficionados, because extracurricular has just started. Mr. Lee, who's now looking more like a mechanic than a muscle guy, tinkering away at his van as if he's solving Fermat's last theorem. Enter Minhee, bearing burgers like she's on a divine mission from the fast food gods. She casually probes if Mr. Lee got the axe from their boss, but Mr. Lee clams up tighter than a vault at Fort Knox. Quick on her feet, Minhee pitches an alternative career path. Mr. Lee is a fighter with her as the brainy manager. Hey, stranger things have happened. She's got the smarts and a knack for burger diplomacy. Meanwhile, Kwak Ki-tae and his crew are plotting revenge against Jisoo and Gyuri, but the latter isn't defenseless. Armed with a squad from the judo club, Gyuri makes it clear that messing with her comes with consequences. Opting for classic high school drama over direct confrontation, they resort to pranks and teenage antics aimed squarely at Jisoo. Cut to Gyuri dropping truth bombs on Jisoo about the seedy underbelly of school life, where illicit trades like cigarette sales run rampant. Jisoo's quick to hush her, not wanting such sensitive business discussed in public. Unfortunately for him, his attempt to maintain a low profile backfires as he becomes the unwitting target of pranks, complete with a broken chair and gum stuck to his pants. Talk about a sticky situation. Jisoo's now the school's reigning gum magnet, and it's a blow to his ego. Switching gears to Detective Jisoo mode, he discovers his locker in disarray but strikes gold with a stash of cash and a mysterious diary. Cue the aha moment. Gyuri joins forces, and they delve deeper into unraveling the mysteries at hand. Meanwhile, Jisoo checks in with Mr. Lee regarding Min-hee's work status, only to find she's playing hard to get with clients. A tough gig indeed. Back at Jisoo's apartment, Gyuri goes all in with a bold proposal, recruiting male escorts from the judo crew to diversify their business. Jisoo, however, draws the line. His operation is strictly for comfort girls. Who knew high school could harbor such complex entrepreneurial ventures? Amidst financial dealings with Gyuri, Jisoo tries to sneak a profit but ends up caught red-handed. Gyuri, not one to beat around the bush, retrieves her share from a subway locker, much to Jisoo's chagrin. It's a modern-day schoolyard hustle, complete with its own set of rules and consequences. Over dinner, they hash out their cash flow arrangement, a 70/30th split that Gyuri humorously tweaks by returning Jisoo's 20%. Money talks, but Gyuri's comedic flair speaks volumes. She's got a knack for financial jests. The next day, Jisoo discovers his locker defaced with ink, courtesy of Kwak Ki-tae's artistic talents. Trouble brews as they conspire to frame Jisoo with incriminating items in his bag, setting the stage for a colorful detention session. Just when things seem calm, Officer Lee spots Min-hee at school, triggering alarms about her presence. Kwak Ki-tae's clandestine plan unfolds, stuffing Jisoo's bag with embarrassing paraphernalia. Chaos ensues when the dean calls for a bag search, plunging everyone into a whirlwind of drama. On a mission to salvage the day, Gyuri alerts Jisoo about the impending disaster, saving him from the brink of humiliation just in the nick of time. Crisis averted thanks to the queen of last-minute rescues. Jisoo steps up, championing student privacy rights amidst the turmoil, defending their dignity like a seasoned lawyer in a courtroom. Who knew high school could be this intense? Privacy matters, even in the midst of teenage drama and shady business dealings. Jisoo takes a brave stand for student privacy, telling the teachers they can't just rummage through their bags like it's a bargain bin sale. But alas, the dean is as persistent as a telemarketer, insisting on a bag search. Just when Jisoo's about to become the school's poster boy for bag inspections, voila! The fire alarm blares like it's auditioning for a spot in a punk rock band. Talk about divine intervention. Teachers scramble like ants at a picnic, only to discover it was Gyuri who played the fire alarm like a maestro on CCTV. Cut to Gyuri facing the Inquisition. She's grilled harder than a steak at a BBQ, and why? Because she staged the fire alarm fiasco. Her excuse? A tear-jerking performance worthy of an Academy Award, claiming she just needed a hug and some spotlight. The dean, bewildered and probably questioning his career choices, quickly retreats, and Gyuri escapes unscathed, proving once again that sometimes a little drama can save the day. Post-drama, Gyuri becomes Jisoo's financial advisor, suggesting a hideout for his cash worthy of a spy novel, under the sofa in the deserted social club room. Jisoo, always up for a game of hide-and-seek with his money, agrees without hesitation. But hold your horses. When they open his bag, surprise. Suspicious items courtesy of Kwak Ki-tae, who's apparently taken up arts and crafts with a mischievous twist. Jisoo, oblivious to the prank, gets teased by Gyuri, who finds the whole thing as amusing as a cat chasing a laser pointer. Cut to the ride home with Gyuri's mom, who picks them up like a minivan taxi service. Small talk ensues, and Jisoo plays it cool, mentioning their innocent club activities. Cue the plot twist. Gyuri's mom casually drops the bomb that she knows about the fire alarm stunt. Gyuri, caught off guard and suddenly channeling a nervous tic, reveals her past struggles, including a serious moment where she almost threw in the towel. Talk about a roller coaster conversation. Meanwhile, it's Kwak Ki-tae's birthday bash. Min-hee, ever the thoughtful girlfriend, gives him a cap fit for a king, only to watch him treat it like last week's leftovers. Ouch, the heartbreak is real. She soon discovers the cap wasn't just any cap. It was a prop in Ki-tae's grand scheme to frame Jisoo, and needless to say, she's not pleased. On the other hand, at the hotel, Min-hee stumbles upon Sung-mi, the boss lady of a questionable establishment, deep in talks with hotel owner Cho Mi-jung about insurance matters. Sung-mi, looking to cut ties with her past boss, Jisoo, explores her options while Cho Mi-jung plays the advisor role in this drama-filled insurance saga. Back at school, Gyuri channels her inner talent scout for Jisoo's covert business and stumbles upon Taram, a fallen star in need of a financial lifeline after a management debacle. She pitches him an offer he can't refuse, promising lucrative rewards in exchange for his talents. Taram, desperate and craving some financial CPR, signs up faster than a squirrel chasing a nut. The next day, Gyuri checks in with Jisoo about Taram's progress. Jisoo, always the cautious captain of his shady ship, contacts Mr. Lee for an update. Turns out Taram's still getting acquainted with the smoke break life and hasn't quite hit his stride. Jisoo offers Taram an exit strategy, but our man decides to roll with the punches, proving that when life hands you lemons, sometimes you just gotta make shady lemonade. Cut to Gyuri crashing at Jisoo's pad for a sleepover, but pulling a Houdini act before the rooster crows. Jisoo arrives fashionably late to school, only to find the campus swarming with cops like it's a crime scene convention. He bumps into Min-hee, who hands him the infamous birthday cap like it's evidence in a top-secret case. Gyuri, catching wind of the police presence, swoops in like a hero in a rom-com, assuring Jisoo it's just a routine security drill. But wait, there's more. Enter policewoman Lee Hae-gyung on a mission straight out of an episode of CSI High School Edition. She corners Min-hee with questions about a suspicious hotel rendezvous caught on camera. Turns out Min-hee's unwittingly starring in her own mystery thriller, and the plot thickens faster than Jisoo's morning oatmeal. The tension reaches a boiling point as Gyuri and Jisoo find themselves scrambling to protect Min-hee from imminent danger. With the police closing in and suspicions growing, Jisoo takes a risky stand by misleading the authorities about Min-hee's involvement. This move, however, only temporarily shields her from scrutiny, leaving Detective Lee still wary. Later, amidst the chaos, Gyuri confronts Jisoo about severing ties with Min-hee to safeguard their operation. Reluctant at first due to Min-hee's dire circumstances, Jisoo eventually makes the tough decision to let her go, knowing it could expose them all. Min-hee, devastated by losing her lifeline, faces further turmoil as Jisoo's watchful eye raises suspicions. Meanwhile, sparks fly in unexpected places as Ki-tae, driven by jealousy, confronts Jisoo, leading to a brawl only quelled by Gyuri's timely intervention. Unaware of Jisoo's true role, Min-hee meets with Mr. Lee to negotiate severance, unwittingly triggering a chain of events that puts everyone at risk. Elsewhere, Taram's misadventure as mistaken identity lands him in hot water with a vengeful gangster, Dae-yeol, who seeks retribution against those involved. Taram's disclosure implicates Mr. Lee, setting off a deadly confrontation outside a restaurant, where Jisoo and Mr. Lee face off against Dae-yeol's thugs. As chaos erupts, Jisoo's dual life as the real mastermind behind the operation is exposed, plunging Min-hee into shock. The tension spikes as Jisoo and Min-hee find themselves in a precarious hide-and-seek scenario with Dae-yeol's menacing gang. Huddled in a car, they're playing the world's most intense game of hide-and-seek, where losing could mean a lot more than a timeout. In a panic, Min-hee dials Detective Lee for help, probably thinking, "I didn't sign up for this level of extracurricular activity." Meanwhile, Gyuri, our queen of stress management, is at the hospital trying not to look like she's about to have a heart attack. Her radar is on high alert, sensing something's amiss with Jisoo, and she's ready to jump into action like a caffeinated superhero. Cut to the karaoke bar where Dae-yeol is all set to turn Jisoo into a human piñata when his girlfriend Mi-jung unexpectedly walks in. She takes one look at Jisoo and deadpans. Who invited this guy? Jisoo, sweating bullets, confesses he's merely the middleman, not the big cheese. This revelation triggers a serious debate among Dae-yeol and his crew, debating Jisoo's fate with the gravity of someone deciding between pineapple or no pineapple on their pizza. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Jisoo reaches out to Gyuri, who switches into crisis mode faster than a superhero changing costumes. In a stroke of genius, or sheer panic, Gyuri poses as Uncle, negotiating with the gangsters like she's orchestrating a high-stakes business deal. Promising a cut of their dubious profits, Gyuri buys them a temporary ceasefire, saving Jisoo's skin, temporarily at least. Back at their makeshift headquarters, Jisoo and Gyuri have a lover's quarrel that rivals a soap opera. Jisoo's all, partnering with gangsters? Have you lost your marbles? Gyuri, cool as a cucumber in a sauna, counters with, "Relax, it's our only play." Meanwhile, their client roster looks emptier than a ghost town, forcing them into an uneasy alliance with the underworld where trust is as rare as a sunny day in London. Feeling like the weight of the world is on her shoulders, Min-hee unloads her secret to Kai-tae, admitting her part-time job isn't exactly the kind you put on a resume. Kai-tae's reaction? "Yeah, I knew. I just wanted to see how deep that hole goes." Ouch, that's colder than my ex's heart. Heartbroken and betrayed, Min-hee seeks solace in the one person who's shown her genuine care, Mr. Lee. Meanwhile, Detective Lee, our sharp-witted sleuth of the episode, connects the dots. She suspects Mr. Lee is the puppeteer behind the prostitution ring, deducing Min-hee's role as a worker, and Mr. Lee as her guardian angel. Jisoo and Gyuri, stealthily eavesdropping on her detective work, are more nervous than a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Jisoo's convinced they'll be expelled from school, figuratively speaking. But Gyuri, multitasking like a CEO on espresso, promises to handle everything. At the hospital, tensions rise as Jisoo warns Min-hee to zip it about their side hustle. The next morning, Mr. Lee awakens and frantically searches for his phone, sending Min-hee on a scavenger hunt in his van. Unfortunately, her search leads to a game of hot potato with Mr. Lee's phone now in Detective Lee's clutches. Smooth move, right? With Detective Lee holding all the cards, Gyuri takes the reins, ready to face the music head-on. The episode culminates with Gyuri striding off like she's about to save the world. We are taken into a flashback to Jisoo's school days, where he's the perennial target of bullies, constantly losing his lunch money. Just when it seems like all hope is lost, enter Mr. Lee, riding in on a bike like a cardboard box-dwelling superhero straight out of Avengers Cardboard Edition. With a swift and heroic intervention, he rescues Jisoo from the clutches of his tormentors, retrieving his trusty phone with the iconic doggo logo before riding off into the sunset. Talk about a lunch money rescue mission. Fast forward to the present day, Gyuri is on a mission of her own, determined and focused like a CEO navigating a hostile takeover. Meanwhile, Jisoo channels his inner spy, swapping phones and arming himself with a trusty taser before sneaking into the hospital to visit Mr. Lee. But just as he's about to enter Mr. Lee's room, who should appear but Min-hee, emerging from the bathroom like she stepped out of a soap opera cliffhanger. They step outside for a serious heart-to-heart, delving into Min-hee's troubling entanglement with compensated dating. Jisoo, ever the sage advisor, suggests she lie to the police to avoid the wrath of the mysterious money taker. Because hey, when life gives you lemons, make sure they're not laced with trouble. Meanwhile, Ki-tae corners Gyuri, his interrogation skills sharper than a knife at a sushi chef convention. He grills her about the underground operation and Min-hee's role in it. Gyuri maintains her poker face, playing dumb with the finesse of a master manipulator. But beneath her cool exterior, the weight of managing a clandestine empire is starting to show cracks, like trying to juggle flaming torches while riding a unicycle on a tightrope. Detective Lee, relentless as ever, pursues her investigation with a tenacity that would make Sherlock Holmes proud. She enlists the help of two sharp-witted detectives to monitor Mr. Lee's movements and unravel the web of intrigue. Not to be outdone, Kai-tae dispatches his loyal lackey on a digital manhunt through chat rooms, turning the hunt for Min-hee's accomplices into a riveting episode of CSI Soul. Back at the hospital, Mr. Lee awakens from his slumber, dropping cryptic hints to Jisoo about their shared unlucky fate. Does he know more than he's letting on? The suspense thickens as Jisoo receives a mysterious call from Dae-yeol, pulling him into a clandestine meeting that leaves him more bewildered than a penguin at a disco. Meanwhile, Gyuri, armed to the teeth and dressed like she's ready to negotiate world peace, arrives at the rendezvous point only to eavesdrop on Dae-yeol's chilling directive to Jisoo: drop out of school and commit full-time. It's a gut punch for Jisoo, who feels like he's stuck in a never-ending roller coaster of bad decisions and worse luck. Amidst the chaos, the detectives close in on Mr. Lee's hospital room, determined to uncover the truth. In a surprising turn of events, Mr. Lee outsmarts them all, incapacitating the detectives and slipping away in a cunning disguise. Almost making a clean getaway, he narrowly avoids a close encounter in an elevator with the lead detective, leaving chaos in his wake as he vanishes into the cityscape. Back at school, Gyuri boldly assumes the persona of Uncle, executing a risky transaction that doesn't go unnoticed by Dae-yeol and his vigilant gang. Suspicion brews like a storm on the horizon, culminating in Gyuri's abrupt abduction, a cliffhanger that sets the stage for an electrifying upcoming event. Dae-yeol, our resident bad guy, making a sinister phone call to Jisoo. He's got Gyuri, and he's not playing around. Jisoo's heart drops faster than his grades after skipping class for this drama. Meanwhile, Mr. Lee and Min-hee arrive at Jaek's house. Jaek, one of Mr. Lee's old buddies, patches him up like a makeshift medic. Min-hee, ever the practical one, threatens to call the cops, reasoning that jail is better than a premature funeral. While Jisoo is being bundled into Doogie's car like a surprise package no one asked for, Dae-yeol and Munji sift through Jisoo's accounts. Surprise, surprise! They discover that Jisoo and Gyuri are just regular high school kids with a not-so-regular side hustle. Doogie arrives with Jisoo in the boot, but our boy Jisoo is ready. He zaps Doogie with a taser, steals the car, and speeds off to Dae-yeol's garage. At the garage, Gyuri shows she's not just a damsel in distress. She stabs Dae-yeol in the stomach and holds Munji at knife point. It's like a scene from a low-budget action flick. But hey, it works! Juri manages to slip away just as things get dicey. Jisoo and Juri flee the scene, hearts pounding and adrenaline pumping. They crash at a hotel, plotting their next move while trying to avoid the dreadful room service food. They're in deep trouble, and their makeshift hideout is less James Bond and more budget motel. Back at Jae-ik's house, Mr. Lee decides he's had enough of playing it safe. With Min-hee's reluctant help, he escapes the hospital and heads to Jae-ik's place to recover. Min-hee, always the voice of reason, tries to convince him that calling the police is a better option. Mr. Lee's not having it. He's got revenge on his mind. Meanwhile, Gyuri hatches a plan to frame Dae-yeol as the pimp to divert attention from themselves. She tells Ki-tae about the real villain behind the scenes, Dae-yeol, the karaoke bar owner. Gyuri infiltrates Dae-yeol's karaoke place, ready to plant their business phones and set the stage for their big frame job. Gyuri's sneaky mission hits a snag when Dae-yeol catches her. He locks her in his room with intentions darker than a blackout. Just as Gyuri's about to meet her maker, Ki-tae and his biker gang burst in, fists flying. It's like a WWE showdown, but with less spandex and more broken bones. Gyuri slips away amidst the chaos. Mr. Lee, still a battered mess, decides to storm Dae-yeol's place. Min-hee tries to stop him, worried that his injuries will turn this vendetta into a suicide mission. Ignoring her pleas, Mr. Lee charges in, taking down Dae-yeol's goons one by one. He finds Jisoo and Gyuri held captive and loses his cool, going full berserker on Dae-yeol. The fight between Mr. Lee and Dae-yeol is brutal. Dae-yeol thinks he's got the upper hand, but Mr. Lee, fueled by rage and a sprinkle of plot armor, stabs Dae-yeol repeatedly. Unfortunately, Mr. Lee's wounds catch up with him and he starts losing blood faster than a vampire's lunch break. Meanwhile, Detective Lee, following a trail of clues, arrives at the karaoke bar. She calls for backup and the police swarm in, handcuffing teenagers left and right. It's like an over-the-top episode of Cops, but with more crying and fewer shirtless suspects. Detective Lee heads to the roof, finding Mr. Lee and Dae-yeol both down for the count, blood everywhere. It's a mess, but at least the main baddies are out of the picture. As the dust settles, Jisoo and Gyuri sneak away from the chaos, bruised but victorious. Back at school, rumors swirl like a tornado. Students whisper about Jisoo and Gyuri's secret life as underground entrepreneurs. Even the teachers are gossiping, wondering how their star students got tangled up in such a scandal. Principal Kim, normally a stickler for rules, starts looking at his students with newfound suspicion, wondering who else might be leading a double life. At the hospital, Min-hee sits by Mr. Lee's bedside, contemplating the whirlwind of events that led to this moment. She vows to turn over a new leaf, leaving her shady past behind. As for Ki-tae, he's left with a broken heart and bruised ego, realizing he was played all along. Detective Lee is on a mission hotter than a Seoul summer day. She's all fired up, flipping through photos of Mr. Lee like a detective version of a Tinder swipe session. With Ki-tae and his crew in tow, she's determined to unmask the puppet master pulling the strings. Munji, usually as talkative as a mime in a library, clams up tighter than a jar of kimchi during questioning about her ties to Dae-yeol. But Detective Lee isn't one to give up easily. She shifts her laser focus to Min-hee, who, upon hearing about Mr. Lee's shenanigans and Uncle's escapades, has a meltdown that could rival a K-drama starlet's emotional breakdown. Drama level? Oh, we're talking expert mode here, folks. Meanwhile, Jisoo and Gyuri are plotting their great escape like a K-pop duo planning a surprise comeback. Gyuri, never one to shy away from a dramatic flourish, decides to frame Dae-yeol, aka Uncle, for everything. Jisoo's torn between loyalty and self-preservation, but spills the beans faster than a clumsy waiter at a bibimbap buffet, especially after Min-hee spills the tea about Mr. Lee's unfortunate demise and drops the uncle bombshell right in the middle of school. It's a high school drama meets crime thriller meets spy novel, all rolled into one. Gyuri goes all in, blackmailing her parents with audio evidence that could rival the scandalous leaks of a pop idol's private karaoke session. Her demand? Funding for a one-way ticket to Sydney, Australia. She meets Jisoo by the docks, pitching him the idea of a fresh start abroad. Talk about turning a bad situation into a full-blown K-drama plot twist. Meanwhile, Detective Lee's nose for trouble leads her straight into Mr. Cho's murky financial dealings. She's tracking money trails like a bloodhound with a nose for cash, and even pulls off a move straight out of a spy movie, using a decoy dog chip, yes, you heard that right, to trace hidden funds. Jisoo, on the other hand, sneaks into Mr. Cho's office like a ninja on a caffeine high, only to find the cash missing faster than an idol's tweet goes viral. Ki-tae, not one to be left out of the detective party, goes full Sherlock Holmes on Min-hee, grilling her like a master chef preparing a Michelin star meal. Things get heated faster than a kimchi stew when he uncovers Jisoo's deeper involvement. Cue the tense standoff and a surprise twist that would make Alfred Hitchcock nod in approval. In a heart-stopping finale that would make even the most seasoned drama critic clutch their pearls, Gyuri swoops in to save Jisoo from Kitai's righteous fury with a dramatic pot-smashing stunt that could rival a Shakespearean tragedy. Together, they make a daring escape, leaving chaos and unanswered questions swirling in their wake. Meanwhile, Mr. Cho races to the hospital as Min-hee fights for her life, leaving everyone wondering whether justice will prevail or if the drama will consume them whole. As Detective Lee follows the breadcrumbs left by our daring duo, she finds Jisoo and Gyuri mysteriously vanished into thin air. The episode closes with Seoul bathed in the tranquil hues of dawn and a hermit crab on the beach pondering life's mysteries. What's next for our fearless fugitives? Stay tuned, drama lovers, because in the world of extracurricular, there's never a dull moment.